in regard to your Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another Women of Horror Spotlight. Today, I have with us she's the director, and she has a new movie that's going to be streaming on in February, and it's called Roots of Evil. I have with us today Cindy Stenberg, and she's with Uncanny Pictures. Cindy, welcome to the Horror Room.
Thank you. It's exciting to be here. I think you're my first podcaster from the United States.
Really, really, and you're from
Yeah.
Germany,
No, Sweden.
Sweden. Okay,
So
Sweden,
almost, but Sweden.
close. Yes. so, so tell us a little bit about Roots of Evil.
Yeah. This one was very special. First off, I saw it all in a dream. And then when I wrote it, I never expected it to ever come true at all because it was very expensive to make. And yeah, the story was so unique that I really wanted to pursue this idea. And then we made a Kickstarter and it got partially funded so we could make the production. And here we are today. I think it's 2 or 3 years from the start to the end. So now we have the online premiere in 16th of February.
Amazing. Congratulations. I
Thank
mean,
you.
that's absolutely amazing that you came up with the idea on a dream because I don't remember hardly any of my dreams.
Oh, you don't? I think it's like one of the favorite parts of sleeping.
Oh,
I see so many good dreams, like movies that I can just adapt to the screen.
oh, see, I'm totally missing out. See, I remember some of my nightmares, but not necessarily my dreams.
But that's the nightmares, that's cool. So that's what you write down, right?
That is right. So, was this a nightmare or was this a dream?
Well, it depends on how you see it. It's a cosmic horror film with a mystery infused. So if you look at the film, it's very horror, but it's very beautiful too. So it depends on how you see it. But I'd say parts of it are very horror. I don't want to spoil anything, but
Yes.
yeah, definitely parts of horror. But when I saw it in the dream, I saw it like I was the camera almost. I was just following around, seeing everything take place, and it was just perfect. Like I already saw the film and I want to see it again. So let's just make it.
That's awesome. So, what got you into horror filmmaking?
Well, I ever since I was a kid, I think most horror lovers start when they're young and they try to sneak down and watch the parents' movies, like that sort of thing. And after that, I just sort of always felt like the dark people or the villains always suited me. I could understand it better,
Mhm.
and I also feel like they have more depth than the protagonists usually have. So you can see more of their humanity than the protagonist, and it's more to dive in, I guess.
And I totally agree with you. I've been a horror fan since a kid as well. And a good horror villain, you kind of relate with them.
Definitely.
And because I mean they're iconic, the great ones. They have an excellent backstory that deals with struggle, mistreatment, and you kind of understand where they're coming from.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's the
So
part that you want to dive into.
yeah, so those are the best ones. I personally don't like horror movies where there's a killer and you don't know nothing about them. It's just, oh, this is a crazy person. I love a good Michael Myers. I love a good even Jason. These are individuals who dealt with trauma, and this is part of the reason why this is how they their trauma where it's led them.
That's exactly what the roots of evil are about. It's about the trauma of a young man who accidentally is in a car accident, which ends up his mother being in a coma. And he has such guilt about this that he reaches out to a pagan cult.
Mhm.
And he's not realizing really the like what is beckoned because of his calling to ease his own guilt and to save his mother, and that's kind of what the story is about.
Cults always fascinate me. Did you do any research on cults when you were making the movie?
Well, not more than I know from studies beforehand,
Hmm.
But in this particular one, these cults are made specifically from what I saw in my head. So I built this cult around that, and there's also something called the Blackout City Festival. So the cult is controlling a more bigger part with celestials and everything like that.
Hmm.
So it's a new cult, but yeah.
Now, and you're from Sweden. Now, does Sweden have a huge horror scene?
Well, we do, but we don't, if that makes sense. I mean, Europe's old lore, mythic stories, grim fairy tales, and things like that are very big here, but
Hmm.
we tend to not make them like in the modern cinema.
Hmm.
But we have, during the past few years, actually gotten more funding into making horror. So I'm just waiting for them to see what I do, so I get to, get a little bit bigger funding and can make something more.
Yes. Now, is it tough to get marketing and eyes on in the West? So, what are some marketing plans you have besides coming on my channel to where to come over to the states where the states have one of the biggest horror markets?
It's very difficult, I'd say, to reach out of Europe. I think if you research more on the social media, like when during the hours of the day should you post your like commercials or trying to reach out, then you have to fit the specific parts of the world that you want to reach. So
Mhm.
that's pretty difficult. um, I think mostly of our viewers are, I think, 60% Swedish, and 10 to 20 are UK and USA, I think.
Okay,
And I even write everything in English as well. I really want to reach to America. That would be awesome. I mean, it's the States, it's
yes,
Hollywood, it's everything that I grew up with. So that would be great to reach a more wider audience than just Swedish or Europeans.
I agree. And like ever since I've been doing this channel for almost a year now, and I've interviewed filmmakers from all across the world. I believe you're the second from Sweden. I actually interviewed a couple that was from Sweden. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
which film was that? Or a company?
it's a zombie film. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. It's bad, but
Is it
it
a
was
new
like
one
it's a new one.
that's coming up soon?
It's coming out, I believe, next year, 2025.
Uh, it's not Sagan Film, no?
No, I'll see
Okay.
the I'll see the information. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't even think off the top of my head. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I've interviewed filmmakers from Germany, Australia, all over the world, and I it's amazing that like horror is it's always been big worldwide, but like it's amazing to see Europe and Asia. Definitely, those two markers are embracing horror and making excellent horror movies.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Japan's especially like, wow,
Yes,
that's so scary and it goes deep into your heart and soul. So that would be a dream to one day be able to make that.
yes. Now, being a woman filmmaker, what are some struggles that you've ran into, if any?
I think at the top of my head, it feels like the male filmmakers, they have like this core group,
Mhm.
sort of. So it's hard to get into that group and just, being able to say, like, well, I'm a director or a writer, I want to make this. It feels like the the male filmmakers just have their clique and they help each other up. Meanwhile, it's not the same for women. That's my initial thought and feeling about it. But otherwise, it feels like most of them are helpful, but some might not be.
Because I mean, and I understand what you mean. Because there is I mean, even here in the states, there is. I guess it's probably worldwide, but like when you think of horror movies and horror filmmakers or just horror creators, it's not even as a black male, and my mind goes to white men. I mean, that's what has been dominating horror since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
And and it's hard even as a minority to penetrate to because it's there's a lot of the horror fanatics who they're like, okay, this is what a horror fan looks like, this is what a horror creator looks like, and when you don't fit that mold, it's like, you can't be that.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty difficult, but I think when people see what I do, that hopefully they see some potential and hopefully like what I do at least, but also gives me a chance to, you know, show what I can do pretty much.
Now, as a woman horror filmmaker, is it hard not to gear your movies towards women, or do you try your best to make this is relatable to everyone?
I think unintentionally I've written most of my films about women,
Mhm.
but The Roots of Evil is about a man. So it's I just wanted to dive more into a young man being vulnerable and what a young man who's not, conditioned to share his feelings, which is typically male, and what that would do to a man, and just give him space to be that vulnerable man and to just follow him and experience what he's feeling. And I think it's very beautiful to see both sides. And my mind just kind of wants to write what I want to write, but I unintentionally write more for females, I think. But yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, when it comes to trauma and horror, men and women definitely. I know we say we're all be equal, but men and women definitely. Um, what's I'm trying to think.
Handle it differently,
They
is that
handle
right?
it. Yes, they handle it differently. Um, I feel like when it comes to trauma and horror, when it comes to men, they act out in violence.
They
Do you
act
think you
out
agree with
in
me?
violence or they keep it bottled up inside them until they explode, pretty much.
Yes, and become violent.
Yeah. In this one, he's not really violent, but he bottles it up
Yeah. And
until there's no return, pretty much.
so, have there been any horror filmmakers that you have gotten inspiration from over the years?
Well, it's those typical white male people. It's Ari Aster, so
Or that's
that's
amazing.
great.
Yeah,
But otherwise, it's I think Jordan Peele definitely has been doing some great work. I mean, it's
creative.
insane. I
Hmm.
really like that new the Nope film.
Okay,
It's not really horror, but it's sci-fi. But
sci-fi.
it was very interesting to watch that take on um, aliens, I guess you say, pretty much.
Yeah,
And I mean, the cinematography is amazing, and the storytelling, and just a really different story than you're used to seeing when it comes to aliens. I really liked it. I mean, it refreshing.
I totally agree. Jordan Peele definitely has an interesting spin that he puts on horror. I'm a huge fan of Get Out. I think
Oh
Get Out
yeah,
is still my favorite Jordan Peele movie by far,
my
and I love Get Out. And he definitely brings something fresh and new to a genre that's been kind of stale. But like you talk about Ari Aster and even like Ty West, there's a lot of new filmmakers that are coming out and they're bringing something fresh to a market that it was stale for a while.
yeah. It sort of was. I mean, the good old slashers, of course, but
Mhm.
otherwise, they have brought out some new sides to horror to make even those who don't really watch horror enjoy it. So
Correct.
definitely it's good. And Get Out, I love it. And
Me too.
the new upcoming film that I got, Pigeonhole, is heavily inspired by that one as well.
Yes, and let's talk about Pigeonhole. That's a short film that you're working on. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about that.
So we are currently in the pre-production phase, looking for funding and trying to solve that particular part, of course. But the logline, though, it reads when pigeonhole traumas turn into destructive mental prison, a young woman must confront her repressed self before her inner world unravels. So it's about compartmentalizing in your head when you can't handle trauma, pretty much. So it's based on what I myself did growing up until I was 28 or so.
Mhm.
That's when I started to notice what was happening to my body because I was doing this. And that's where this script came out.
Is it hard as a creator not to put a little bit of yourself into your projects?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everything that I write and do is very personal. Um, Pigeonhole, especially, is so much from my own experiences that it's very hard to not take it, personal when people critique the script or anything like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think you can make a movie as a director or writer without putting anything from yourself in it.
You have to, because I mean, for someone who's a a movie fan and watcher, it's hard for me to not to think, oh, this person is telling this story because it has something to do with them or how they feel or how they see the world. So it's hard for, as a watcher, yes, you do have to watch what you put out there, because as a watcher, we're interpreting, this is something how you feel, this is how you think, this is how you interpret life.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, so Pigeonhole is a short film. Is it easier doing a short film compared to a full length feature? Because to me, I would think it would be tougher because you're trying to fit a lot of information into, you know, a short time frame.
Yeah. Yes. It's very difficult to put that entire story that you want to tell into this piece
Hmm.
and still be able to tell the story um, in a short section. Pigeonhole is, I'd say, a proof of concept to a feature because there's so much to dive into in this story. Uh, However, to make a feature is so hard. It's so expensive and it's so much that has to, stars aligned just to make it out to the
Yes.
world. So I've been focusing mostly on short films to show what I can do and show what I can write. And maybe one day people will see that I can do it. And in the meanwhile, I'm writing feature scripts, like Trick is one of them that's got development funding. And I mean, it sometimes hurts your heart a little bit because you have to take so much away from the characters that you're writing. So that's pretty hurtful. I mean, I want to tell the entire story, but I can't because of funding. So
Yeah, because like when I watch a short film, some filmmakers can pretty much tell A through Z in 30 minutes or even shorter. I've seen, and but when I watch some short horror films, it's like, boy, this is such a great story, but it feels like something's missing.
yeah, that's probably something that the writer or director had to cut and just be really sad about it.
Yeah. Now, so how long has so you're in pre-production right now for Pigeonhole?
Hmm.
Now, how long do you take? How long do you think it's going to take production wise for this one?
Well, we are looking for funding still, and we will make a smaller piece of the film if the original the funding will come through. We'll know in a week or two, so fingers crossed.
Yes.
We will be shooting a small piece of the film that's going to be like 5 or 10 minutes. And when we have that, we're going to edit it and make it all good. Then we will apply for funding again. So if we get more funding because they see like, whoa, this is really good, I want to see more, give us funding, then we will continue. And I'd say if that's the case, maybe 2 years away.
Okay.
But this smaller piece will probably be ready this year.
Awesome. Now, when it comes to funding in Sweden, do you use the same channels like Indiegogo and crowdfunding?
You can do that. However, for this one, we're not looking to do a crowdfunding like we did on Roots of Evil. With this one, we're just going to go to regional film. How do you say regional film they give out funding for culture and things like that here in
Oh,
Sweden.
really? Sweet.
So we're gonna apply for several of different ones and hope for the best.
Okay. That's amazing that Sweden offers that to filmmakers.
Oh yeah, I think all of Europe do it.
So that's pretty amazing. I wish the United States, but I guess they're not a. I don't know.
Yeah, the states are pretty tricky there
Yeah.
politically wise for that kind of thing, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, and there's an abundance of indie horror filmmakers in the United States. So, like, I feel like they would go broke or something if they tried to fund everybody's project. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess the competition would have to be really hard.
yeah. So you are rocking and rolling because you also are in developmental stage for another movie that's called Trick. By the way, Cindy, how are you pumping out these ideas that quick? Like, do you does it just come to you in dreams, or I mean, so all these stories just come to you in dreams, or do you have to sit down and actually pen and paper and pull these ideas out?
Most of these things that I've written has been just sit down with a piece of paper and write it. It's only the roots of evil that just really came to me. Um, but I mean, sometimes I just sit down and I get this feeling or like a piece of character or a scene, and if it sticks, then I want to write it. So I just wait and see. Well, was that a good idea or not? If I keep thinking about it, then yes. Otherwise, it's just scrap.
So to tell us a little bit about Trick, and that's the next one.
So that one is a slasher. So it's a little bit more on the funnier side. However, its core is about friendship. So it's about Benji, a grieving board game owner who receives a cryptic invitation that ensnares him in a deadly treasure hunt on Halloween. So, racing against time, he must rescue his friends before an unwitting misstep results in their demise. So he's just trying to fill up the void about his mother just dying, and he's taking over his mother's game shop. A group of nerds, pretty much, which I love about the story. And what I've been focusing on is to give everyone as much space as the other. So even if it's about Benji, all of the friends have their own space. So pretty much almost like the same scene time too.
Okay.
So I want the characters to mean something to the audience. I don't want them to be, meat fodder. I want them
Yes.
to be a person and that you're going to care about them and, cheer on if they can survive until the end and all that kind of thing.
Hmm.
So, yeah, that's where we are right now.
See, that's absolutely awesome because I say it all the time, and horror filmmakers need to listen to the fans. But listen, character develop even in a slasher, character development is so important. It's
Oh,
so important because us as an audience, yes, it's nice every once in a while to watch a horror movie where you don't care about you don't care about anybody. It's just like you said, there's just indispensable
yeah.
meat.
And I
So,
mean, when the film starts and you get the introduction to each character, you feel it instantly as the audience. Like, I don't have to care about this one. They're
mhm.
going to die. I just need to focus on that one.
Exactly. That the final
That's
girl or that
boring.
final guy, and that's boring. Like I like to care about all the characters, even if I hate them, even if I dislike them.
Yeah.
I like to feel something when they come to, the end of their life. And but if I don't feel anything about any of the characters, is this really a horror movie at this point? This is just gore porn that's going all the way through, which is fun every once in a blue moon. But I like to feel sorry or cheer if a character gets killed.
Yeah. Me too. So that's like the basis of this film that I wanted to do. And I think I wrote this one originally, I think 3 or 4 years ago.
Mhm.
And I never got it bought anywhere, so now I'm rewriting and fixing it. I got a script consultant as well, and now I feel like it's made such a big difference the few days that I got to work with it completely this script. And I just feel more and more in love with the characters and feel sad for the ones who die, and
Yeah,
that's good because that means that the audience is going to probably feel the same. So
and
I like it.
that's when you're doing a great job when people feel sorry for the characters dying or cheer. As a filmmaker, horror filmmaker, you're doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
All right, Cindy, as you know, this is a horror channel, so I'm gonna ask you three horror questions. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. First question: who is your favorite female horror villain?
Horror villain. That's a hard one. I think the first one that comes to mind, but that might be because I just played it again. But Resident Evil, if I can say a video game,
Okay.
like in Resident Evil 8, the tall lady with the big hat,
Oh yes,
Lady Dimitrescu.
that's from Resident Evil Village.
Yes.
The Village, yes.
So
You're
she is badass.
yes. By the way, I was going to be wearing my Umbrella Corporation T-shirt in this interview, but I didn't put it on. I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. You see in my channel, but I'm a huge Resident Evil fan. It's my favorite video game series. I grew up on the first one on PlayStation 1. I'm a
Yeah.
huge Resident Evil fan.
Oh yeah, I really love them too.
Yes. Good one. Good one. I can't think of her name right now, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
I think it's Lady Dimitrescu.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, I'm trying to think. Is she the best Resident Evil villain I've seen so far? I don't know. The one before that, the Crazy Family, they were pretty disturbing.
Oh yeah, I had nightmares actually about that, and I still do sometimes. I'm right at the swamp again sometimes when I dream, and it's terrifying.
That game scared the shit out of me, and like I remember playing that the first night it came out. I bought it and I was playing it. I was like, I had to put it down for a couple days because it was the most
Oh yeah,
terrifying
it's
game I
very
ever played.
intense.
It is, and like the fact that you're limited on ammo and you really don't have anywhere to hide, and like because at any second one of these crazy family members are going to come at you. It was such an intense game.
Oh yeah, loved it though. I think I played it 3 or 4 times. It's very very good.
Yes, that's definitely a game you play in the dark by yourself if you want the full experience.
I don't think I would dare to play it myself actually, but yeah.
I even like the other ones. Like I love Resident Evil 4 and 5. I like when they added the whole co-op aspect where you could play.
Yeah, the co-op was fun.
It was
However, it was a little bit too actiony for my taste.
yes, and that's what a lot of people, especially Resident Evil 5, that was Chris Renfield, and I think her name was oh boy, it was something, but it was the female African character. But
Mm.
I I enjoyed all the Resident Evil games. Even Part 6 was it Part 6 or Part 7? Part 6 was the one that most people hated. That had the you could play all four characters and play it differently. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, that one. It kind of goes under the radar.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, second question. I was about to ask you what's your favorite horror video game series, but it's Resident Evil. Who's your favorite Final Girl?
Oh, I think the woman from Black Christmas. The remake, I think I prefer. Like the remake from 2005, not the latest one.
Okay,
That one, I think.
that's a good one.
She's pretty badass too.
Yes. And who is okay? All right. What horror movie that do most people say? Oh my goodness, they rave and rant about it, and you're like, it's not that good. It's overrated.
Oh, this is gonna hurt. Witch from what's it? Egger.
Ooh, yeah, Edgar. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
I mean, I really wish that I liked it more. I mean, it's beautiful and like it's a good story, but every time I watch it, it feels like I'm not getting it. Like, why are everyone so overly hyped about it? I mean, it's really cool, but I just don't get it, and it really hurts because I can't join in with the everyone's hype about it.
I actually saw that in the theaters, and I only seen it once. I saw it in the theaters, and I totally understand what you. I was so confused. It's a beautiful shot movie. It's a beautiful
It's
shot movie.
beautiful.
Is I was just so confused. I was like, "Is this movie too intelligent for me?" I was confused. I just
Right?
didn't. Yeah, I was like, "Am I too dumb for this movie?" Or like, I feel
I mean,
that
I've
way.
googled that too.
I feel that way about Hereditary too. Like a lot of people say they love Hereditary, and Hereditary is a beautiful movie. It hits all the keys. But I'm like, ooh, I don't get Hereditary. I'm like, am I too dumb for Hereditary, or like, I get Midsummer. I love Midsummer. I prefer Midsummer over Hereditary, which most people give me shit for. But I'm like, is this one of those movies that I don't have the intellect for? Or I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. I've searched, explain the witch and all that thing. It's like, okay, well, I got it, but I still don't see it. Hereditary was, I felt something that like there, I'm just not getting it.
Yeah.
So I was like, let me get back to you if I like it or not. Then I felt for it a few days and then came back and then I was like, yes, I love it. Yes,
Mhm.
yes, I do.
It's a you can feel the pain in that movie. Like that movie, you can literally feel the pain as the audience. And I enjoy it, but I enjoy Midsummer.
Oh yeah, Midsummer is top notch, and the feelings that you
Love it.
have when you see it, it's very intense. The Roots of Evil, when I made the production bible for the Roots of Evil film, I
Mhm.
used parts of it for the cult from Midsummer as well.
Oh, nice.
So yes, it's definitely up there with favorites.
Because I saw Midsummer in an indie movie theater as well, and I did not know what it was about. I just went in there and I saw that Ari Alistair made it, and I was like, okay. And I went in there and I did not know what I was. And from the beginning, that movie just hits you right in the gut. Like,
Yeah, that would be tripping.
it hits you right in the gut with gas and the parents and the whole family. It just hits you right in the gut from the beginning, and it just doesn't stop.
Oh yeah, it's so beautiful, and everything that's so light as well,
Hmm.
and the flowers and nature, and I mean the ending. It's
Yes,
that's cinema right there.
and it's based on trauma. Once again,
Yeah.
it's on trauma. And actually, maybe I could take it back because women in movies handle trauma sometimes violently too. I mean, if you look at Pearl, like Pearl, I mean, I love
Oh
Pearl.
yeah. Oh yeah. She goes a little bit crazy there, doesn't she?
Yes, and she continues going crazy all the way to her old age and X.
Yeah. I have actually started looking more into the female rage in horror movies and the franchises, even in video games as well.
Mhm.
And it's kind of opening a whole new world that I didn't knew existed. So I've just started like scratching at the surface, and I've saved I think five or six videos on YouTube that I just try to return to understand better what they're saying and everything like that. But totally recommend to dive into that yourself. It
Definitely.
is very interesting, and just to look at the violence of female population from before, like history and now, and how it's always been there in film. We have just not been seeing it because the perspective hasn't been there. So it's very interesting.
I totally agree. And one thing video games have done too, more so, I feel like like you said, we don't notice it. Video games have always had some of the greatest violent, evil women villains,
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah.
and that's something I guess we ignore.
Yeah, I think maybe because video gamers and movie watchers doesn't always do the same. Like the nerds, we can do everything, but if you're just watching movies, then you miss out the video games.
Yes.
So they don't know a whole different aspect of storytelling like the video games have, maybe.
I think horror nerds and video game nerds, I think they fall in. I feel like comic book horror nerds and video game nerds kind of roll in the same circles somewhat. Um,
Yeah, to some extent, maybe. Yeah.
yes, but they definitely branch off until they, because I feel like video game nerds. I hate calling them nerds, but you know what I mean. Not in a bad way, but
I'm a nerd, so it's perfectly fine.
yeah, I'm a nerd as well.
Yeah.
Video game nerds kind of go, yeah, they watch horror, but they go off into, I feel like, anime or some other aspect that they cling on to. Actually, yeah, and I feel like horror nerds, like horror nerds, are into like wrestling. I feel like horror nerds, they love wrestling.
Yeah, they will just watch any kind of horror movie they can get, and like one in 15 or 20 is worth watching. But we're
Yes,
still watching it because we love horror. So there's always something positive, even if it's a bad, really cheap movie. You can still, respect and understand and like the film, even though it's not like an Ari Aster big budget thing. But you know, we are a forgiving kind, maybe we can say.
I agree. Now, as a horror fan and as a Resident Evil fan, how do you feel about the Resident Evil movie series?
Oh no, they're not good at all. I think, I mean, the first Resident Evil that they made with Mila, I liked it. I mean, I think I saw it not too long ago, and I mean, it holds up. It's not what you would like to have if you could choose, but that's the only one in all of the films that they released so far. But I haven't seen the one with Kaya Scodelario yet.
Oh yeah, the new one is amazing. It's amazing. Now
Oh,
but it's for, you would have to be a Resident Evil. I say this, a lot of people give this movie, say they hate the movie, but you got to be a real Resident Evil fan. You can't be a casual Resident Evil fan to love that movie. Because that movie, it just tips its hat to original Resident Evil 1 fans every 2 seconds. So like if you're not a Resident Evil 1 fan or even a Resident Evil 2 fan, like you're not going to get a lot of references. You're not gonna have that same feeling. But that is the best rendition of any Resident Evil adaptation out there. Um, but I
so you're
agree.
giving me hope.
Yes, it was fun. But I agreed. Like the Resident Evil movie series, I was not a fan, and those movies made hundreds of millions of dollars. But I guarantee you, and I know for a fact, the people who went to watch those movies were not Resident Evil video game fans.
Yeah.
Because Resident Evil video game fans, I'm talking about the hardcore ones who get every single game and play it all the way out through, call out from work or school and play that bad boy all the way throughout, they are not fans of that movie series at all.
No, I mean, they're not good. I mean, if you think about, oh, what's your favorite movie? I've never heard anyone say those movies as their favorites.
I've had someone, I want to say, I had a filmmaker that said that their favorite horror movie was the Resident Evil movie, and I was like,
Which one?
interesting. I'm not gonna say it on the camera, but
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's an interesting choice. Like, I
Hmm.
was like, clearly, but I think I even asked him. I said, "Well, you're a fan of video games?" I was like, "Oh, well, there was a video game?" But I was like, "Ugh."
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a population that doesn't know that those crappy movies were based off a video game series.
It feels so weird, but yeah, maybe there are people who lived under a rock or something.
Yep, it's sad. All right, Cindy, I would love to have you back on. We're gonna talk about Resident Evil for a whole interview.
Definitely, I can go all out with video game horror. I mean,
Yes, listen,
it's my
we're definitely
life.
going to do that. We're going to talk about Silent Hill as well, which I love the Silent
Oh
Hill series.
yeah, definitely.
Cindy, where can everyone find you?
If you go to social media, you can find us under the name of Uncanny Pictures.
Awesome, awesome. Well, everybody, look out for Roots of Evil. It's coming out in February, and also keep an eye out for Pigeonhole as well as Trick. Cindy, listen, it's a final question. You're coming back on my show. We're going to do a horror video game video. So that's
Yes, I would love that.
there's no question about it. We're going to 100% do it. And we get a chance to watch. I don't know if you've seen my video, but I did a top five. I want to say of the five most influential horror video games. Watch that one too. That's a good video.
Yes, please link it. I've looked through your videos, but I don't remember that one. So
I'll send that one to you.
yeah.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you for coming to the horror room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you for having me.